Hi, I'm Matt West, and welcome to the Roundtable discussion we have here at Jefferson College, which is members of the community. My name is Matt West, and I work at the local radio station KJFF, and alongside is my co-host, Steve Davis, local attorney.
Up there with Davis, Applebaum, and Mays. Matt, glad to be back here again for another episode of our Roundtable discussion.
And today we brought in some cousins.
Yes.
Let's introduce Bob Mann. And Bob, you have a barber shop in Imperial, used to be in Barnhart for years.
That's correct.
And your cousin is, most people associate Todd Mann with Mann Funeral Home.
Hello, Matt. Steve. Hi. How you doing?
And we just have a bunch of questions for both of you, and none of them, I think, will be all that difficult. Let's talk about the barber industry just for a second. It's actually a regulated industry. People don't think about that, but I've been there when you've had inspectors come in.
That's correct.
And what are they looking for?
Oh, they check you out for sanitation, which is really important, mainly, and certain other rules we have to go by using our tools and instruments. As again, towards sanitation. They check out the bathroom. They check out just about everything.
Like I'm a good old what I call South City boy. Like to go to local barber shops. Matt's a little more upscale than me, but I always ask Bob. I love Bob's shop because Bob doesn't cut hair of women. Bob says he's a barber, not a stylist.
He doesn't like children either. Little kids. You don't do little kids, right?
Well, we do. Yeah.
Oh, once in a while?
Yeah, Mike does.
Oh, okay.
As long as they'll sit in the chair. But what is a barber shop, Bob? I mean, what's the difference between all these hair salons?
Why aren't you a stylist?
Well, actually, I've had styling training, but the barbershop's what I prefer to go to because it's the old way. You know, it's the pastime way. It's where the guys all come and they BS and talk and just have a good time. I enjoy that. The other way, when I took appointments, did a lot of hairstyling and stuff like that, it wasn't nearly the camaraderie that you have in a barbershop, and,
Sure.
and I really enjoy that. And Mike Minke, who works for me, 4 years ago when he came to work for me, he didn't say nothing to nobody. And now he gets going. Sometimes you can't shut him up, you know. And then we have a variety of customers. We've got what we consider good customers, bad customers, just like anybody else. And it's just you listen to the old man. You listen to them, and they're very knowledgeable. You may not like what they say, but they're very knowledgeable.
I always liked when I used to go to the city, I'd go to the barbershop, and for me, sometimes it was a 2 or 3 hour event.
Yeah.
20 minutes to get the hair cut, but just everybody in that neighborhood would come in and sit down, and I loved it. The mailman used to take him 3 hours to do his route. Probably an hour to do the route. In 2 hours, he'd just sit down in the barbershop and tell all the gossip of what was going on in the neighborhood.
So do you have an insight more than others as far as what's going on in the community? I guess you got to stay up on a little bit.
Yeah, I wrote down some of the things a lot of the people talk about. It's mainly that Big Brother is kind of overstepping his bounds, and what they need to do is get the middleman, the poor man, more jobs, more manufacturing, which is being shipped out of the country more and more. Chrysler's closed down second shift, laid off a lot of first shift. We need jobs here, you know. That's what a lot of the talk is.
General Motors, I understand, is going to soon be hiring possibly 70,000+ new jobs because they offered a buyout to every single GM employee to cut costs in America.
Sure.
74,000 buyouts. They want to get rid of everybody at GM America.
But then they want to hire.
Well, Ford's been doing buyouts, but GM has decided across the board, every single employee they're offering a buyout to, they're hoping then they can replace them at half-price wage earners and cut their losses that way.
When you say Big Brother, are you talking about local stuff like stoplight cameras, or are you talking about more, that's a big one?
Everything, stoplight cameras. They tell you can't smoke here and there. It's not against the law to smoke. It's not against the law to buy cigarettes. How can you make a law saying it's against the law that's not a law? I mean, it's just ridiculous. Bars, they're getting into bars now. You know, they're telling you what you can do in the bars. You're just not supposed to say Merry Christmas. I always say Merry Christmas, not Happy Holidays. You know, and there's too many double standards. They're trying to get way too many double standards. And, they're trying to get everybody not to spend cash. They're trying to get everybody to put everything on plastic so they can just keep an eye on you.
Our government Both sides. We're going to give everyone, well, not everyone. We're not getting any probably, but we're all getting $600.
Yeah, some type of rebate check or something like
Well,
that.
then answer me a question. Why is the Supreme Court and all them into Roger Clemens on steroids? Don't there a baseball commission for that? I mean, what's the government doing? That's spy.
Or
He's right. I think he's right about that.
Or the Justice Department. You know, if it's
The only reason I can see Congress
It's
getting
ridiculous.
involved in it, and it's a hard stretch, baseball has one exemption that other sports don't. They've got an antitrust exemption, baseball does, where other sports don't. That's where when they had the lawsuit against the football players, the collusion and all that, you know, so, but I don't know why Congress cares whether or not Roger Clemens used, steroids. He did. Or whether or not.
I think it's used as a trap. I mean, they swear you in, they get you to lie under oath, and then next thing you know, you have the Justice Department calling you in a few days and filing charges against
That's
you.
Martha Stewart.
But they're not going to do
It happened with
anything.
Roger
So.
Clemens, and it happened with Barry Bonds to a certain extent.
I had somebody who watched this say to me, I couldn't believe it because they made all these speeches and then they'd hardly ask questions. And I'm like, you haven't watched too many of these, have you?
A lot of people thought that Mark McGuire, his answer back when they were questioning him was just absurd and ridiculous. And it's looking more and more now that he had the right answer. He did not need to get into an argument
Agreed.
with Congress.
I had the best
that.
answer Roger Clemens could have given, which was not to participate. Because the response is, if I say I used it, I am bad. If I say I didn't use it, well, half you people aren't going to believe me. I am bad anyway. So what difference does it make what I say?
I think the best person I've seen throughout this whole thing is Andy Pettit. I mean, he told the truth, and
Well, Roger
go
hopes
on
he
with
didn't tell the truth.
well, on himself. Now if he's Roger's got differences in what Andy said about him and how that whole conversation took place, but Andy Pettit said he has a higher person to answer to, that's God, and he's let it off his he's let it out.
See, I don't know why these ball players don't be honest. See this shoulder? It hurts. I can't throw. I've got to retire. He gave me a shot. I earned $7 million more. That's what it's about. It's about money.
If anybody should be sitting in front of Congress, it should be the owners of baseball and the commissioner.
Yeah.
They should be answering the questions. They exploited us. They let it go on. It made them money, and now that they've been caught, they're taking out on the players.
of course, and they would say it's the fans. They don't show up unless we're hitting home runs.
If Babe Ruth was here, he would try. Babe Ruth, get the edge. It's a competitive world. They have a few years that they're in this to make a living, and then they have to do something else. And they're just hanging these guys out there. I think it's ridiculous. I think it's totally ridiculous.
And also Spygate. What's that got to do with the government? Do you realize what Spygate is about the football team taking pictures?
Oh, yeah.
Patriots.
What does that got to do
Well,
with?
and it comes back home. Who cares if the Patriots were filming the signals that the Jets were coming in? Well, you dig into it a little further, and there's some talk that the Patriots filmed the final walkthrough of the Rams right before we took.
You got commissioners for these things, and Congress ought to be worrying about what Bob said earlier. Jobs, they're gone, and when they're replacing them with jobs. There's nothing wrong with these jobs, but McDonald's and Hardee's and places like that, you can't take care of your family. You cannot raise your family on those kind of jobs. And here they are worrying about whether Roger Clemens took steroids or not, which at the time wasn't even illegal in baseball.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of grandstanding.
I think that's what it is. I think they're out there trying to get in front of the camera, get their name out there. I remember that congressman. He stood up for. Who cares? Yeah. And I think Wes Wagner, we had a discussion on our first show, said it first. I think every city wants their players. I mean, Barry Bonds is a hero in San Francisco. Mark McGuire gets a standing ovation in St. Louis. Sammy Sosa can cork any bat he wants in Chicago.
They sold the stadium out when Whitey Herzog had his good years. There's nobody hitting home runs. They were butting, they were hitting and running, stealing bases.
That was a fun time.
They did not have to hit home runs. And to me, this whole home run thing has just become a lazy man sport. I mean, they wait for Albert Pujols to pull the game out in the bottom of the 8th or 9th with a home run with a couple people on base.
A grandstanding.
You know, and it's not the Whitey Herzog baseball. That's baseball. Whitey Herzog played baseball. These guys play home run derby.
Part of it could be our age, though, too, kind of growing up with the Whitey ball. And I'm sure kids today think,
baseball was always that way until the steroid thing took off.
Yeah,
and
I
it
guess
was all
true.
home runs, you know. But everybody knew people were on steroids. I mean, you could look at these guys and knew that it was steroids. I mean,
and their head was the size of a pumpkin, and you know, their faces were
I
potted.
go to the gym, I work out because I have this high tech. I mean, when you can film me and film my muscle movements, you know, on the, you know, the image machine and show it. What difference is a steroid than that equipment?
you know what bothers me more than the whole really is the little the guy that's now tattling on Roger Clemens and these other guys. You know, what kind of friend is he? I mean, this guy had been brought into Roger's family, his home, around his children, and you know, he's a rat. I mean, the bottom line is he's
Just
a
like that
rat.
goofball that wrote that book, trying to make a lot of money on that book on
And, you know,
steroids.
where's the friendships gone? And, you know, to me, that's more important than anything. And you're seeing a little bit of this going on with politics right now. You know, the Clintons and the Kennedys, you know, they've been friends for years. I mean, you just don't, you know, to me, you stick by your friends through hard times and good times, and you don't abandon them, you know.
Let me bring it back here a little bit closer. I want to ask you a little bit about Mann Funeral Home. Has that been something you've been involved with like your whole life?
Yeah, it has been. Bob and I are cousins. Had the same grandfather. Grandpa had a hardware store down in DeSoto on Main Street, and he had 11 children. Had a home up on 4th Street. And in 1914, he got his funeral director's and embalmer's license and decided to start doing funerals out of his home with 11 children. And I still don't see how he did that. Because
That's a story there.
is because we in between homes, we have an apartment at the funeral home, and we stayed there for a while, my wife and I and our son Daniel and my 2 stepchildren, Kyle and Alex. And a lot of times they stayed at their dad's, and so it was just Rita and Daniel and I, and just the 3 of us. It was a trial, you know, to try to get everything done and be living there in the funeral home also. But yeah, it goes. We go way back. Bob stayed with my father a lot and helped there at the funeral home. He lived in the apartment that I'm talking about where I stayed, you know. And my father died when I was pretty young. I was 14, and you know, a lot of my memories come from, you know, being with him, but also I spent a lot of time with Bob. I go in a barber shop, and you know, talking about old times. We talk about family old times, you know. And, you know, it's enjoyable. But our family's been committed to the helping the public all of our life. It's kind of inbred in us, you know. It's not. You just do the right thing, you know. You help people, and it's just part of your life, you know.
Let me give you a free plug. I love giving free plugs. Maybe, hopefully, it's the family. Biff, man.
Biff.
How's he related to you guys?
Biff's our cousin also. Biff's grandfather.
Excuse me, did you say Biff or Beth?
Biff.
Biff.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Biff. Biff's grandfather.
Good plumber. He does my
Yeah.
Right. That's the free plug for him.
Yeah. Biff's grandfather is a brother to Bob and I's grandfather. So there's Daniel Mann Sr. and there's Biff Mann Sr. Right, Biff has the plumbing, heating, and cooling. And then we also have a cousin, Mark Mann, has William J. Mann Plumbing. And they do more commercial. I think they did the college here. I think Uncle Bill told me one time he'd done 27 of the schools in Jefferson County.
Wow.
So, you know, and that spun off the hardware store too. And then there was a time when we had the ambulance service for years, which Bob can tell you about a lot too, that he went on calls, and our Uncle Ed had the towing company. So one way, shape, or form, we were helping people in the
Now,
community.
years ago, they used to use the hearse to transport people, right?
Yes, they did. And they also, you know,
I mean, that's kind of where you count the ambulance thing from?
Right.
right.
Okay.
There was no paramedics or nothing like that. It was just us, and we took the people to the hospitals. Not only that, we took oxygen to people's house. We bought wheelchairs and gave them wheelchairs to use, and we bought
Walkers and crutches.
crutches and everything. We took these people at no charge and let them use them. I mean, that's how our family, I'm very proud of our family because we've tried to interject a lot of was, for lack of a better word, love into the county.
Now, you mentioned another name. I don't recognize that last name you threw out. Who's Beth Man?
Well, Beth Man, we have a couple Beth Mans. Beth has a sister, Beth, that works there. And then we also, Beth Man, who's
County collector.
politics here in Jefferson County. She was married to our cousin Mark.
Okay.
So,
So she's man by
I
marriage.
consider her family.
Their tree has a lot of
Consider
branches.
her family
we do.
here until I get that real estate property tax in the mail from her.
Okay, so let me ask you this: if you're working at a funeral home,
Okay.
are you not allowed to laugh? I mean, if you're working with a coworker and they say something funny, or maybe they did something funny, maybe they slipped on a banana peel or whatever, and you want to laugh.
There's nothing going on, and somebody trips down the hallway or something. Of course, but never at the actual funerals or anything.
Sure, because that would be just incredibly inappropriate,
Right.
which but I mean, so the question is,
Families do. I mean, I had a service the other day where I stood in the back and the people got up and talked about the person that had passed, and they just roared the whole service, and that's fine if that's what they want.
And and that's kind of because they like to remember the person that way.
Sure.
Happy.
But I remember one of my first jobs I had was watching autopsies. So we'd make sure how they were performed because I was doing death penalty appeals.
Okay, I was going
in
to
case
say.
someone got murdered, we'd do an autopsy to see if it was done properly, But the first thing they just said to us is, you have to remember, this is somebody's relative. Because we're standing there over the bodies, holding organs, cutting them, actually doing autopsies. And
every person that I've hired, I've told them that treat whoever passed away like it'd be your mother or your father or your child. And, absolutely no joke and no clown around or, you're gone. I'm pretty over the top about that. So, and
But does that affect you after a while because you're always biting your tongue?
Well, I don't bite my tongue because the only reason you have to bite your tongue is if you were a phony, So
Oh, I guess that's
I
true.
don't have to bite my tongue because I don't ever think anything or want to say anything.
Hey, what he's telling is the truth.
Is that
well, no, I'm just basically a flippant guy by person.
Well,
I'm sincere and I'm respectful, but
Well, that's something that I'll be straight with you guys. I've been around people before, and they say things, and the service has been over for a while or whatever, and this are not people that work for me, but I think to myself, that's just a bad thing to really feel that way. I mean, so you had to act a certain way while they were here, but you really feel this way, and it's just.
They wouldn't last anyway at your funeral home if you had a new employee and you sense that it would, because it'd be so uncomfortable for them and you'd stay on top of
I'm
them.
pretty fortunate, I have a.
Is that why Bob doesn't work there? Because he has quite a sense of humor himself.
Bob would be great there, I would love to have Bob there. I mean, Bob cares about the people, and we're talking about having a family reunion this summer, and you put our whole entire family together, and they're always doing something. They're volunteering somewhere. I mean, it's just hereditary. It's generational, and you do these things. It took a long time for me as a kid. I was much older before I figured out that everybody didn't volunteer and do things for the public, give back to your community. I just thought that was just
What you did.
It was normal to us.
It was instilled in us that that's the way
We were
help
taught.
the public.
well, in every profession, we always have stories, or whether humorous or sad. Can you, I guess, without using names or dates, whatever, any funeral ring a bell, or anything extra out of the ordinary, or anything that you remember from one of your funerals that were services that were performed?
I remember being busy one time, and I went out on a service that morning, and it was a very somber, serious, service. There wasn't anything out of the ordinary.
Sure.
And came back, come walk in the funeral home, and heard this music playing really loud, and I knew the other service was really close to starting. So, but when I heard the music, it was a rock and roll song, Free Bird or
Something like
is that
that.
a song? And I came in and they had this song playing for the service, actual part of the service that the rest of my staff had already started the service when I got back. And I just think to myself, I'm glad the first service was the first one that went out, and they weren't the second one because they would be there and they'd be hearing this go on, and there was somebody in the back of the chapel that was singing along with the song at the top of their lungs, so it was just sometimes you just
you walk in, and so you're hearing someone singing kind of it ended up being like a karaoke deal of this rock song, and you're like, this doesn't quite fit, but
there's some things I don't feel fits, but we try to honor the families' wishes. But here lately, picking out any songs that they want, I've started asking my directors to, if you don't know the song, listen to the lyrics. We have had situations where some of the lyrics were using foul language.
Sure.
And I do draw a line in the sand, on those kind of things.
We had, may I say something?
Yeah.
To my Uncle Jerry, which is Todd's father's brother. They were in the funeral home business together, and they're the ones that basically got it rolling after Grandpa got out of it. I was on an ambulance call with Uncle Jerry one time. His car went off the hill and was starting to burn, and we went down the hill. It was smoky. And he drugged this lady out, and he says, drag her up the top of the hill. And she was just about halfway out and I drug her up, and he grabbed the guy, and he drugged the guy up to the top of the hill. And they're coughing, carrying, and she goes, oh, my baby. And Jerry just said, hold him, and ran down the hill, got into that car, which at the time was burning, and actually, I don't know where the baby was or whatever, but came out with the baby. The baby was already passed away. And we got the people in the ambulance, although they weren't hurt too bad. I saw my uncle stand on the side of this ambulance, and he was just crying because he wished he had known that the baby was in there, that maybe he could have helped. That's how he was too. I mean, that's how much, they put into it.
The ambulances were probably, as a kid, that's probably what I enjoyed the most, because you got the sirens and red lights and drive fast.
Yeah.
We used to always go to we took the ambulance to the stock car. There were stock car races in DeSoto, and I'd go on calls with my father all the time, and it got to be where some nights it'd be so late that he'd call my mother to come get me, because back then the ambulance would wait at the hospital to see how the person was, or at least we would.
Yeah,
We'd stay with the people.
We did too.
So she'd have to come get me and take me home, and according to her stories, is I'd throw a fit and want to stay there and stay with my dad and all this stuff. And it'd been years since I'd had anything to do with the ambulance. Well, week before last, I picked my son up at school, and it was starting to sleet outside, and it was really nasty weather, and I was taking him home, and we were going down 61, and this car in front of us just started going from rail to hitting the rails, the guardrails.
wow.
Didn't hit any other car, and right in front of us, and I stopped my car. When it finally had stopped, and I put it in park, I knew right away, I needed to call 911. Something was wrong. And I called 911, and I have lights on the car for funeral processions, so I turned them on so other cars would stop, and immediately got out, and the lady had a heart attack. She was down on her floorboards, and I stayed there and I helped the paramedics, and it's just like, your instincts just kick right back in.
That's right.
It'd been so many years, but you just started helping and doing that, and got her in the ambulance, and they thought that we had lost her, but come to find out that they had resuscitated her at the hospital, and she was in the ICU. But I left my son sitting in a car, which I'd done many times.
Yeah.
Never would I ever leave him sitting in a car any other time, but the car was right there, and I could see, but I got back in. I said, "Are you okay?" And he said, "Yeah, I'm fine." I said, "Were you scared?" And he goes, "Well, I was all right, Dad, but we were up on an overpass, and it was real windy because when it started to sing, his car was really shaking back."
But he'll remember that.
He'll remember that, and and he knows that that's part of our family. That if we need to help someone, you help.
Now, speaking of part of families, and you may not realize when you talk about the music at your funeral homes and what, it could have been Bob, because we want to talk about Bob's history. Absolutely. Now, he doesn't talk much about it, but I can tell you, I'm impressed.
I don't know a lot about Bob's history, so this ought to be interesting.
Well, have you ever heard of the old 50s band Cruisin'?
Oh, I have heard of that band, Cruisin'.
That's Bob, man.
There it was. That was Bob Mann. And,
Yeah.
and I always say it because I'm impressed. I have no musical talent, no musical ability. But we were talking one time, Bob and I, just chit-chatting, and it dawned on me, when I was sworn in as the Missouri JC state president, and we had our inauguration, that was the music act that played at my inauguration.
That's
Bob
pretty
has
neat.
one of the best voices I've ever heard. I'm not saying because he's my cousin, but you hear him play the drums and his voice, and It's unbelievable.
You got one of those get your attention kind
We
of
got
voices.
all the singing talent out of our family, just all sort of stuff. I don't know anybody else.
Grandma had a good voice.
But you've got a different view of
Hers
music
wasn't
today.
quite as hoarse as yours is, though.
Huh? No.
Hers wasn't quite as deep.
No,
Bob
not
can
quite.
get the people riled, rolling. If the party's not rolling, Bob can get it going.
But we don't sing. We're not professional. We're not singing anymore.
No, I gave it up.
You know,
But that hasn't been that long ago. You say like it happened. That was just a few years ago. You stopped doing it, right?
Oh, it was I guess it was about, I don't know, 8 years ago or so. A friend of mine named Steve Smith I just said, here, you take it. He took the name and the band, and he's going on with it, and that's how I wish him the best. My resume is, we had probably the top band in St. Louis. We did a lot of road work. We worked for Robert Irsay. He owns Indiana Colts. We worked for St. Louis Cardinals. We worked for Stan Musial. We did a thing with Martha Reeves. Another thing with Gary U.S. Bonds, Three Dog Night, Bachman Turner. I did a lot of tape overs and dub-ups and commercials for CBS. After we get through playing, I'd go down there and work, and did that ever since I was about 16, till about 8 years ago. That's it.
There you go.
I just don't, it's, my wife keeps wanting me to do it again. It's like,
I think
no,
we're game is singing again.
I'm done.
well, you tried it. Just was just a few years ago. You thought about getting the band back together, but you just couldn't work with the young kids today.
Well, the young kids are driving me crazy. You go in and tell them how it goes, and they argue with you for 2 hours, and then they go, oh, yeah, that is how it goes. It's like, duh. And besides that, the music that you want me to say is the music today. I just can't make much sense out of it. So I either listen to kind of the oldies or the old rock stations or the new country western. So, and the new music today is just.
Now you can sing, but what instruments do you play?
Oh, I can play drums. I play some bass. That's about it. His dad tried to get me to learn how to play the organ so I could do it at the funeral. And all I would practice was rock and roll songs at the time. And he kept saying, no.
No, that's not how it goes. We need to take a break. We're going to break away just for a moment here, and we'll come back right here on JCTV.
You may not know their names, but the students who are helped through a Jefferson College Foundation scholarship carry thanks in their hearts. It's for the kindness that our contributors have shown. Make a difference in their tomorrows.
Education, the great equalizer. It doesn't just mean you get more knowledge, it means you improve your quality of life.
Give to the Jefferson College Foundation today.
Welcome back to the Roundtable. I'm Matt West, my co-host Steve Davis here, and we've been talking to cousin Manns, and Bob Mann is here to my left, your right, and Todd Mann is here, and Todd Mann known more, or associated more with Mann Funeral Home, and Bob is more associated with the barbershop industry. And we've been talking about a variety of topics, but we're going to have a little twist or turn in the show right now as we do kind of a mini roast of Steve Davis.
Oh.
Guess you didn't know that you were going to.
Surprise.
Oh,
No.
yes.
This is okay with you, isn't it, Steve?
You don't mind at all, do you, Steve?
Not at all, but Bob, you got to remember, in 10 to 15 minutes, this show's over, but I'm coming back.
First of all, before anything starts, Steve, would you like to give your nickname for me? We don't need to be looking at that, Steve.
Steve
Do
the
you?
Stud Davis? I mean,
No, no, for me, you know.
Oh, your
you're going to
nickname.
bring it up sooner or later.
I was being
Get
kind,
it off your
yes.
chest. Come on.
This we used to call Bob the Barber, but Bob is very politically active, so now this is Barack the Barber.
Oh, Barack the Barber.
Well,
All
yeah.
right.
Steve, you know, you are one of my customers, and that's a nice thing and everything. And,
You don't want to show that?
you know what, though, Steve, you're awfully tight. You know, and
what is
I
this?
always wondered
Give
why
us
you were
what
so
this picture
tight.
is all about.
That's Mr. Davis in a Scrooge costume.
Oh, is
I
that what it
believe.
is? Okay.
Is that
all
not?
right.
Is that not?
You must be proud of that one.
That's pretty good. Look.
I heard you were also athletically inclined.
Very
Is he
much
actually
so.
a record holder, Bob?
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
He's
You
the
in the neighborhood?
we
Grand
can't edit
Slam.
this show, right? This is,
You can only answer yes or no.
Is
That's how
it true
lawyers
or
do it.
false?
that I'm an athletic type of
Are
individual.
you a hula hoop contest
Champion.
Primo?
No, actually, but my wife was. Yeah.
You've
You
never
were. You sure about that?
you have never won any hula hoop contests.
Not that I can recall. No, I can't recall.
Have you participated in any hula hoop
Well,
contests?
but then that has to do purely with alcohol, so I can't.
Now, Steve, with your little bit of accent, your hometown is Boston, right?
Well, I'm actually born in Philly.
Okay.
Grew up in Connecticut and went to school in Boston.
Close enough. And you was a cop and a lawyer, so what'd you do, write tickets and then fix them? Isn't that kind of a double standard?
No, I just paid myself the bribes.
Oh. Now you're a gentleman farmer, I believe.
Yes.
And you bought a pet pig to keep around the house, which
Lucy
is
the
supposed to
pig,
get
yes.
little bitty, which
You must be proud.
you kind of goofed up, and now Lucy, the little bitty pig,
Do we
is
have
like
another
300
picture here?
pounds. No, but being a gentleman farmer and having a pig and even starting to ride horses just makes me just seem like Steve's kind of a bit of a animal person.
Yeah,
you
I
know?
would imagine.
Wouldn't you
That'd be a
imagine
fair
that?
way to animal lover.
Lover,
Yeah,
yes,
sure.
to the extent of dressing up as a duck.
It says. Now, I'm not sure where this photo came from, but can you explain dressing
this,
up
yeah.
as a duck?
This was an office retreat. I took my office down for a long weekend down in Branson.
You almost act like this doesn't embarrass you, which
No.
makes it even worse.
Not at all.
I told everybody he'd be eating this up.
And I'm a firm, and I'm, this is one of the things we do at Davis Applebaum Lodge, your Jefferson attorneys, is we believe in socializing. And I believe as a boss that you shouldn't ask your employees to do
He has very
anything
attractive
that
knees,
you
by the way.
yourself
Nice.
do.
I think he's shaved, actually.
Sure.
And
Just
this was the Bob Eubank show.
I think he's shaved. Yeah.
I was the Bob Eubank
Hey,
show and I got on stage.
Is there? Excuse me, Steve. That's enough of that.
All right, go on.
You know, you can't get out of it. The picture's there. You're in a duck outfit, and that's that. Talk about this animal thing. Oh, just go upstairs. Just did you ever slam your phone down and yell at the phone? Will you listen to me?
Hello?
I answered yes.
Yeah, I would
Okay.
imagine that's a big yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have to be.
Last thing I really,
That's from
well,
Back to
the second to last thing I really want to ask you about, Steve, is who in the world's your buddy?
Who is your friend? Who is your friend in this? Big guy, hairy?
Big Cedar Lodge. That's again another retreat. And those are the days, it looks like, before I met Bob, or maybe after I got one of his haircuts.
Oh, is that what happened?
Yeah.
Is that what happened? Wow.
It's
Wow.
one of my animals. I'm a naturalist. I just love nature, love the outdoors, and I think we should protect the bear.
And you're from Boston. Yeah, this makes a whole lot of sense. But
you know.
we welcome you to the neighborhood because we like you. And the only last thing I want to ask you, Steve, is
Just one.
I don't understand this. If you want to explain it, you can, or just keep it.
Did you see that? Who is that?
That's Steve.
Oh.
That's just some woman I met in a bar, I think.
I think
On
you're.
one of our office retreats.
Oh, is that
You wasn't driving, was you?
Yeah, okay.
No, that was, we were at one restaurant.
Well, she's not an employee of yours or anything like that?
No, just some woman who realized that how attractive and
I
and
just
what kind of
grabbed
man
you
I
off
was.
the street.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
Grab you off the street.
Wow. Well, see, I figured I'd just get through some of this that way. I knew you was going to hassle me, so I figured we'd just take care of you.
Problem is, I think my wife probably took that picture.
She gave it to me.
Behind the camera.
So, are you happy now that you've gone to Bob the Barber for how long now?
and restrained myself
Oh,
so much for this show, Bob. You don't understand. But now that I
told
got
you.
a minute here, let me go back.
I knew it. See,
But it's all in good fun.
Yes, it was. But a lot of those things were the officer treats. We're a small office. There's 8 of us, and I believe we should all get
What was the
together.
purpose behind the duck costume again?
We actually went to the was the Bob Eubanks game show, whatever game show he used to have, 20,000.
yeah, I remember what you're talking about. I don't
And we
remember
were
the name.
actually selected from the audience to go on stage. And I forget what I was doing, but I had to dress up as a duck in a duck costume, and I won, by the way.
Oh, did you? All right. Well, it makes
You
it
could
all.
give us just
all
one little
worthwhile.
quack, could you?
Hey, I knew they were going to roast you a little bit.
And by the way,
but,
that's what we won. I think my prize that I won was ride the ducks down in Branson.
Very
Which
good.
is a good time. Which is a good time.
I was informed a little bit about this roast, but I said, I just don't know Steve well enough. I'm not going to start hammering things.
Hey, I want to end kind of on a serious note before we depart here. You have a special event coming up, Todd, man. You're helping to organizing it, and I'm talking about the wall coming back to Jefferson County for the second time. Should even be more spectacular than the first.
Yeah, my goal always was I'd like to have it in DeSoto, and first time we had it in Festus, which was a remarkable service, 4 days that we had it there, and
This is just to point something out. This is a town, Festus, of 10,000 people, and they guesstimated that they had 80,000 visitors.
right. Yeah, one of the reasons we had decided to have it in Festus was logistics of being off 55.
Sure.
So we bring people from St. Louis, and after it was here, and you just seen what it done for people. I really wanted to have it again, but I would only do it if it was going to be in DeSoto, our hometown. I wanted to bring it there for the people, and the folks are really excited, the veteran organizations, and it's coming together very well. It'll be here May the 8th through the 11th, and May the 7th there will be a formal escort of the wall into town, and then that Tuesday, May the 6th, we'll be kicking everything off prior to the wall coming into town with a golf tournament.
Well, I just want to let people know of it, and obviously it'll show up in a lot of different media
Right.
publications on the radio and the like, and we'll be talking about it, but kind of keep that in mind in the back of your head, beginning of May.
Right, beginning of May, and I like to also say that one of our major outlets it's going to cover, it's going to be KJEF. They're one of our major sponsors, and I really appreciate that. And but yeah, we'll be getting the news out through all the outlets.
And it's touching on so many levels, and we've had conversations about this before, and you said people came up to you and said when it was coming into Festus, said to you, Todd, I really appreciate you doing this. I think it's fantastic, but I'm just not going to go. It's too hard.
Yeah, a lot of those people have come back to me and they've said, we're glad we're going to get another opportunity to go, or we're going to come back again. And I just had a meeting with all the ministers of the Ministerial Alliance in DeSoto, and we're working out a schedule that will have ministers there on site. It's very emotional for people.
Sure.
And but at the same time, where we're at in the world right now and what's going on, is I felt that it needed to come back again, just because I see it helping people through what we're going through right now at war.
Yeah.
And there will be attachment to this wall that wasn't here before. It will be saluting those that lost their lives in Iraq. It will give the name, the date of death, and the location of the death in Iraq. And I just think with everything that's going on right now, that it's appropriate.
Todd, thanks for coming on our show today. And Bob, always a pleasure.
It was, Bob. Thank you.
All right, they are friends. For everyone here, I'm Matt West. Thanks for tuning into this edition of The Roundtable on JCTV.